Hey guys, in this video I want to talk about a communication skill called the I message or the I statement and how we can use it to assert ourselves in a conflict. We'll talk about what an I message is, why it's so effective, how to use it, we'll run through a couple of examples, and finally we'll talk about the potential pitfalls and how to avoid them. In case you're new here, my name's Hayden Richards. I'm an emergency physician and this is Comms Lab. On this channel I share what I've learned about having difficult conversations. If you're someone who works in healthcare like I do, then I think you'll find this material really helpful. So what is an I message? According to the Conflict Resolution Network, an I message is an assertion that expresses the speaker's feelings, identifies an unwanted behaviour, and demonstrates a desire to resolve the dispute. The most basic form involves three key parts.
I feel
Some actual feeling like
upset, really hurt, confused. When you
some objective behaviour like
interrupt me, correct me in front of the junior staff. Please, could you
some very specific request.
wait till we're in a private setting the next time you want to disagree with me?
Some other phrases you might include in your I message might be,
I didn't like it when
and add a clear statement of what I don't like about what happened.
you called me that name.
Or,
I'm really keen for us to work this out together.
the key thing is that you're always sticking to what I'm feeling, what I don't like, and what I want, including the fact that you genuinely want, or I genuinely want, to resolve the conflict and build or rebuild a relationship with this person. When I was trying to get my head around what an iMessage is, I actually found it quite helpful to understand a little bit of what an iMessage is not. Here's what I found out. For starters, an iMessage is not a reference to what the other person should or shouldn't be doing.
You shouldn't have done that.
It is not an attack on the other person's identity.
You're a liar.
It's not a judgment.
You really could have been more honest with me.
And it is not a reference to some arbitrary norm or rule or universal thing that you can just sort of pull out of the air.
That's unacceptable.
Or,
Your behaviour is completely inappropriate.
in other words, an I message is not a you message. And it's not a statement about what I think is either right or wrong. All of the examples you just heard are either a you message or one of these kind of rule-based statements. And they are pretty much guaranteed to trigger defensiveness in the other person and actually escalate the conflict. So why are I messages, on the other hand, so effective? The way I see I messages is that they are designed to allow you to be assertive, to be able to stand up for yourself and to be very clear. But also, they allow you to be simultaneously vulnerable. You're laying your cards on the table and you're very openly appealing for the other person's help and assistance. And because the only things you're expressing are objective observations about what happened, how you feel about it, and how you'd like it to be different, and because you're not speculating on their intentions or judging them on their actions, it's actually pretty hard for the other person to dispute what you're saying. When I've successfully used iMessages effectively in the past, even saying something as forthright as,
Hey, I really did not like the way you spoke to me the other day.
I've been really surprised at how effective it has been in not only getting my message across and getting my point across and sort of clearly stating my position, but also in de-escalating the conflict and moving things towards a resolution. And the research backs it up. The evidence shows that I messages, when they're done correctly, are far more likely than you messages or you statements to reduce anger and minimize the inclination for an antagonistic response in the other person. Okay, let's take a look at some examples.
Earlier today, I felt really upset and humiliated when you gave me critical feedback in front of the junior staff because I worried that it might affect my credibility with them. Can I ask that if you have concerns about my decisions in the future, that you communicate them with me in private?
Let's break that down.
Earlier today,
So I'm obviously referencing something that happened sometime prior, earlier in the day. And the only reason I highlight this is just because it's a way of suggesting that when you first try using I statements or I messages, it's probably a good idea to do it when the heat of the moment has passed and when you've been able to develop a genuine desire to actually resolve the conflict instead of just getting in there and defending yourself.
I felt really upset and humiliated.
These are simple, genuine feelings. What's more, they're feelings of distress. And the evidence shows that if I messages involve showing that you're distressed, which they usually is the case, they actually can be more effective. And that can involve a little bit of vulnerability, but I think that's actually the key to success.
When you gave me critical feedback in front of the junior staff.
So this is a specific reference to an observable event.
Because I worried that it might affect my credibility with them.
Here I'm sharing the reason behind my feeling.
Can I ask that if you have concerns about my decisions in the future, that you communicate them with me in private?
And finally, this is a very specific and achievable request that's kind of hard to argue with. Okay, let's do one more example. This time we're going to look at how we might use an iMessage if we were to actually use it right in the midst of a heated dispute. And again, I'm going to double back and just sort of suggest that this is not where you want to start with iMessages, but this might be where you could aim to get to after a bit of time and practice. So let's say you find yourself in a situation where another person, perhaps a colleague or a patient, is speaking loudly at you. Let's say they're yelling. They're yelling in a way that you might consider rude or aggressive or condescending. Anyway, it's not making you feel good. How much you use an I statement in this situation?
Hey, I'm feeling a little confused about what you're trying to communicate to me right now. I'm keen to help you the best I can, but I need you to help me understand where you're coming from. Is it okay if we take a step back so I can get a better understanding of your concerns?
Okay, let's take a closer look at that.
I'm feeling a little confused.
So I'm expressing a simple feeling. And importantly, I'm labeling it as my feeling. I'm really owning it.
About what you're trying to communicate to me right now.
Here I'm referencing the unwanted behavior, the thing that I see that's causing my feeling.
I'm keen to help you the best I can.
Here I'm showing the transparency of my intentions.
But I need you to help me understand where you're coming from.
This is an open appeal for help.
Is it okay if we take a step back so I can get a better understanding of your concerns?
And again, I'm making my intentions really transparent. Okay, so before we finish up, I just want to visit what I think is probably the most important part of this video. We need to talk about the pitfalls and how you avoid them. Because as far as I can tell, pretty much everyone, including me, falls into at least one of these while they're trying to learn how to use I statements. Firstly, we've just got to be really careful that we don't get sloppy or lazy with our words. It's really important that we're clear and clean with the way we're expressing ourselves. In order to achieve this, I highly recommend that you slow down and think carefully before you speak. Secondly, and this is kind of related to the first one because it's kind of the cause, don't let any subtle you messages or you statements slip in. The common way for this to happen is when we turn our feeling statements into judgment statements. And that's usually because instead of saying I feel, you end up saying I feel like you.
I feel like you're being selfish.
Just say what emotion you're feeling. Just say it. Keep it simple, keep it honest, and own it. Thirdly, beware of hidden agendas. Your hidden agendas. If you go into this thinking that you're absolutely right, that you're not willing to bend in any way, if you're looking to manipulate them, if you're looking to humiliate them in any way, beware. Your non-verbal cues and your tone will give it away. Take some time to get your intentions straight before you go into these conversations. Authenticity really is essential. And fourthly, you really have got to be ready to shift gears. iMessages are not foolproof. They can still trigger strong emotions in the other person. And when that happens, you're much better off switching to a mode of empathy and validation as best you can. I know it's not easy. At least until they've de-escalated before returning to your I statement later on. Personally, I've found iMessages and I statements pretty challenging to learn, and I'm still a long way from being able to apply them consistently, particularly in the heat of the moment. But I know that from my experience, when I have managed to actually do this effectively and not slip into any of the pitfalls, I found them extremely effective. So thank you so much for watching, guys. If you found this video informative, I'd love for you to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and colleagues. That really is the best way to support my channel. Any comments or questions, leave them down below. I love hearing from you guys. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.